What do you think Europeans will do at American airports after the 2026 World Cup? Breathing a sigh of relief because they're about to escape the nightmare of fast food and dangerous sounds on the news? Not at all.
Well, the time has come. It's time to leave the United States once again and go back to Scotland. I'm not going to lie. As much as I'm going to miss being back here in the US and how much I've loved being here.
Americans, I am severely depressed. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I miss America so friggin' much. I do. I miss it to my core.
Dad, it's your last day in Texas.
I know.
What are you going to miss about this place?
The friendly people and the helpful people.
Thousands of European fans couldn't hide their reluctance when heading to the airport to return home. They even recorded apology videos, hugged strangers tightly, and publicly admitted how the local media had deceived them for decades. Why does a football tournament trigger something called the American craving syndrome in such a peculiar way? What really happened that even the proudest Europeans had to nod in admiration? Watch the entire video today, because I will reveal the whole truth behind this shocking act, which the European media is deliberately hiding from you. You see, these clips just climbed to the trending top just a few hours after being posted. These English guests have just completed their journey following the national team at the 2026 World Cup. But instead of discussing the penalty or the beautiful goals, the first thing he did upon returning to London was express his overwhelming disappointment. At the American airport, TSA security personnel, despite conducting a thorough inspection, still cheerfully joked about the jersey he was wearing. The Uber driver was ready to carry the heavy suitcase, and the strangers in line behind him casually struck up a conversation, asking which city he was from. And when he just got back home, a terrifying silence, along with a chaotic customer return process where no one bothered to smile.
Right, guys, update. We didn't get on our flight because Stansted had a fire that no one ever saw, and we was waiting there for 2.5 hours. Okay. There was a fire. However, we were at the front of the queue for security. Everyone then barged in front. Honestly, chaos. I had arguments with like 4 people. We then get to our flight, Ryanair, and Stansted put out that all the flights won't be taken off till later on. We get to our flight. Why is our flight literally gone?
What caused this reversal shock? Perhaps this is not just a story about airport services. It is an extremely interesting cultural clash regarding the concept of proxemics, that is, the language of personal space. In Europe, especially among the British or Northern Europeans, they have a very large private safe zone. If you take the subway in London or walk the streets of Paris, deliberately making eye contact with someone or randomly striking up a conversation with a stranger is considered an invasion of personal space. Their culture is built on the principle: politeness is respecting and protecting others' space. Protect space. They avoid bothering you and expect you to do the same. Therefore, when they first set foot in America, most European tourists carry a defensive mindset. They find the friendliness of Americans somewhat dangerous, strange, even fake. Why did the cashier ask about my weekend plans? What does he want from me? That is a very natural reaction of someone who is used to being reserved, but the psychological trap lies right here. The politeness of Americans follows a completely opposite school of thought. Politeness is actively stepping into the space to connect. Enter space.
Just 2 weeks ago, a young woman named Sippy was at the airport where she forgot about the rule preventing liquids in carry-on luggage. So when she hit security, she had to give up all her paints and all her art supplies. When she returned home to New York a week later, an airport employee was there at the baggage claim area with her paint and art supplies. Not only had he kept them for her, but he had looked up her return date and time in order to meet her.
Throughout the weeks of the World Cup, the defensive barriers of European tourists were continuously breached by spontaneous acts of kindness. From parking attendants offering a plate of barbecue, strangers on the street complimenting your t-shirt, to drivers inquiring about your trip. Gradually, their brains were brainwashed without them even realizing it. They started to react, began joking, and opened up more. The moment they stood at the airplane door to return, the initial caution had completely vanished, leaving only a sense of loss. They realized they had become addicted to the feeling of being cared for and welcomed. If you've ever experienced this bittersweet culture shock while traveling, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. YouTube's algorithms will help this analysis video reach more people who are interested in American culture. So, the proactive friendliness shattered the first psychological barrier right at the airport gateway. But this emotional shock doesn't stop at mere polite greetings. When they return home, European tourists begin to realize something even more terrifying awaits them. The addiction to extreme material comfort that America has instilled in their lifestyle over the past month. From the giant jars of painkillers to the refillable cups of soda overflowing with crushed ice. Let's move on to the next part. If the airport is the beginning of a bittersweet farewell, then what happens next when European travelers return home is the stage of struggling to forget. That's right, medicine calls this phenomenon withdrawal syndrome. The syndrome of stopping the use of something that has become a habit. Just look at the expression on this French friend's face. Just a month ago, when they had just landed in the US, many European tourists still thought that the American lifestyle was ostentatious, excessive, and obese.
I just saw a post that said, "Do Europeans think that Americans are fat over bad food? Like, do they think that we're just out here getting fat and gaining weight off of bad food?" And honestly, that is so real. Like, one thing about America, we gonna be certified big bags.
They criticize everything in America for being excessive. But alas, what you hate, you get. Only when they returned to the reality of the old continent did they suddenly realize that they had unknowingly fallen into the addiction of American convenience. Now, let's dissect a few mundane yet bitter details that would make any European traveler feel a pang of nostalgia. They criticize everything in America for being excessive. But alas, what you hate, you get. Only when they returned to the reality of the old continent did they suddenly realize that they had unknowingly fallen into the addiction of American convenience. Now, let's dissect a few mundane yet bitter details that would make any European traveler feel a pang of nostalgia. Second detail, refill and shaved ice culture.
Tell me why I have only just found out that Americans get free refills when they go out for dinner. Yeah, literally go anywhere and you can get unlimited free drinks. This has never been a thing anywhere I have been in the UK, Europe.
I want to talk about free refill. Did you guys know that free refill, it's a very American thing? First months in the United States.
In Europe, when you finish a sip of soda, you have to pay for every next drop. While in the US, the concept of free refill, along with cups of Dr. Pepper overflowing with crunchy ice at self-service soda fountains, is the default. Back home, wanting to drink a cold glass of ice water in the scorching summer heat also becomes a small economic puzzle. That's not all. Let's talk about 24/7 convenience. In many European cities, stores close quietly at 7 to 8 p.m. In the US, the feeling of driving on the highway at 10 p.m. with a growling stomach and suddenly pulling into a brightly lit building selling everything from hot food and coffee to essentials. It's not just shopping, it's a sense of reassurance. From an economic and consumer perspective, the essence of the American economy goes beyond just selling goods. The US excels at selling time and extreme convenience. They optimize every process so you exert the least effort and receive comfort the fastest. Europeans might initially criticize that convenience as lacking sophistication or being energy consuming. But human psychology is such. Moving from scarcity to comfort is very easy, but once you are accustomed to comfort, forcing a return to constraint is truly a bitter experience. Honestly, if it were you, between a bottomless soda with crushed ice on one side and paying for every sip of water on the other, which one would you choose? Leave a light comment below so we can discuss together. And don't forget to like the video if you find these comparisons too realistic. The convenience in daily life has quietly won over European tourists like that, but America's indulgence doesn't stop at pharmacies or vending machines. What truly exploded making European football fans tip their hats in admiration, lies in a completely unexpected sanctuary. Not inside modern stadiums, but right in the concrete parking lots stretching for miles. Let's move on to the next part. Tailgating. How American parking lots have turned strangers into family.
We came here and like, oh, who's these people? Do they live here? Oh no, we're just tailgating. What? Yeah. And then they told us like, yeah, we don't even know the guys who live here. We're just sitting in their backyard drinking, eating sausages. They were, oh, okay. Such a big shock for us. Yeah.
So, have you never tailgated before?
Oh, never. I don't even know what it was before I came here. So, but yeah, it's been really, really good. Yeah.
Welcome to Boston.
Explosive. That's the only word that can describe this moment, folks. Look at the bewildered yet excited expressions of the European fans as they experience the American tailgating specialty for the first time. Before the official match started for hours, they entered the parking lot with a simple thought, this is just a parking space, right? But no, America has transformed those vast, dull, concrete spaces into a vibrant outdoor festival, a temporary community where no one is a stranger.
We heard this thing, tell us if this is true or not, but that they banned tailgating before the World Cup football games?
And absolutely insane. Like, tailgating is a sacred tradition.
Right.
And I've seen multiple sources on different websites saying that
I thought that was so cool, like, that you would be able to do that in the US before you went to see any, like, sports games.
Exactly. And I thought that was going to be, like, the pinnacle of the world experience to see tailgating before a game.
And how cool for, like, all the world fans to actually experiencing tailgating. That's awesome.
To understand why Europeans are shocked by tailgating, we must look at the fundamental differences in sports culture between the two continents. In Europe, such as in the Premier League or League One, the football atmosphere is often concentrated in narrow pubs and the narrow old streets surrounding the stadium. The regulations there are extremely strict. You are not even allowed to hold alcoholic beverages within sight of the playing field. Everything takes place under strict control and within a closed flow of movement. But in America, they took that enthusiasm, put it on four wheels, set up the tent, fired up the grill, and asked, "Who wants another burger?" The foundation for this grandeur is rooted in American college football culture. Remember that stadiums like Michigan Stadium have a capacity of over 107,000 spectators, or Penn State's Beaver Stadium with over 106,000 seats. When these grand sports stadiums light up, the entire suburbs transform into a cauldron of hospitality, barbecues, and camaraderie. The most wonderful thing about tailgating isn't the 4K TVs or a whole pig roasting on the grill. The most valuable thing is the unconditional welcome. A European fan can step into the parking lot without knowing anyone, but just by wearing the jersey, you immediately have a pass to any tent. They hand you a plate of BBQ, patiently explain the rules of cornhole like a lawyer, and insist you try the secret family sauce. You are no longer a tourist standing outside taking photos. You have become a part of the party. The bias against sports has been completely shattered. Sports in America don't start with the 9-0 minute kickoff whistle. They start the moment the first cooler is opened. This explosive openness is truly inspiring, isn't it? If you want to explore more multifaceted and very real cultural perspectives like this, take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Your support is the energy for the team to create more quality videos. Tailgating has proven that an ordinary parking lot can also become the happiest place in the city in an afternoon. But the generosity of Americans doesn't stop at the grill or the spontaneous hospitality. What truly transformed the mindset of Europeans was the endless feeling of freedom behind the windshield as they began to roll along the vast roads across this continent. This experience really opens up a whole new horizon, doesn't it, everyone? Many Europeans initially thought they were just coming to the US to watch a few soccer matches. But when they step out of the stadium and roll along the endless roads, they realize a valuable geography lesson that the flat maps in school never taught them. The concept of pretty close in American English, which means quite close, is truly a sweet yet astonishing cultural shock for anyone coming from Europe. Let's make a small comparison to see the immense scale of America's cravings. In Europe, If you drive continuously for 4 hours, you could very well have crossed the entire territory of a country like Belgium or the Netherlands, finished your lunch, and started reconsidering your life choices. But in the US, 4 hours of driving sometimes won't even get you through half the state. Let's look at these real numbers. The state of Texas, with an area of about 696,000 square kilometers, is larger than the entire mainland territory of France. The state of Arizona has an area larger than the entire United Kingdom. Therefore, Europeans often think in terms of individual countries, while Americans think on a continental scale. Complementing this scale is an incredibly valuable domestic privilege. Europeans, if they want to seek warm sunshine, must fly to Spain. If they want to ski, they must cross the border to Austria, which means they have to exchange money, use a passport, and even change languages. Meanwhile, an American citizen can experience everything from the sun-drenched Arizona desert, the majestic snow-capped mountains, to the tropical beaches of Florida on the same phone SIM, using the same USD, following the same traffic laws, and without needing to present a passport even once. But the geographical scale is not everything. What truly captivates European tourists is the road trip culture, the experience of freedom behind the windshield. The camera lens or the media often narrow down America to tense debates or sensational incidents. But when you take the wheel and drive along the highways, America reveals itself very differently. It is a vast space for your mind to breathe, small, peaceful towns by the lake, bright grocery stores, and the feeling that there is always something interesting waiting for you just behind the next exit sign. America gives travelers the freedom to wander without fear of getting lost. Exploring such realistic and informative perspectives is the reason behind today's video. If you love this in-depth analysis, please generously give the video a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next journeys. The feeling of vastness on the wide roads has allowed European travelers to see a boundless, diverse, and vibrant America. However, the beauty of nature or the grandeur of infrastructure cannot compare to the final key factor: people. Strangers are willing to lend a hand to a foreigner to help them achieve what seems like the most insane dream. If I had to choose the most heartwarming moment in this entire journey, this is the story. A Scottish friend started the walk with a backpack, a personal goal, and a hometown tartan shirt. But when he walked on American soil, he was no longer alone. Thousands of Americans along the streets and in small towns have accompanied him. They didn't just support him financially, they offered him water, gave him rides, invited him to dinner, and considered his goal as their own family's mission. What made a complete stranger be welcomed as a blood member like that? Beneath those spontaneous hugs lies a profoundly insightful sociological story about how the two continents define kindness. In Europe, especially in the Nordic countries or the United Kingdom, society operates based on the welfare state model. People pay very high taxes, and they trust the government and the relevant authorities to take care of social welfare. The assistance here is systematic, organized, and private. Europeans help society quietly through duty, but America operates on a completely different DNA, the model of voluntary personal philanthropy. Let me share with you a piece of data that might surprise you. According to the Giving USA report, in just the year 2023, Americans donated a staggering $557 billion USD to charitable funds and community activities. And the key point is, most of this enormous amount of money comes from the pockets of ordinary individuals, not from corporations or government budgets. Kindness in America is spontaneous and proactive. Americans have a very special instinct. They are ready to take on the dreams or difficulties of a stranger as their own mission. They place their hearts directly on the counter, right next to the coffee cup and the oversized tip jar. That sincerity is grand, public, and unreservedly expressive of emotions. It is this generous instinct that melts away all the prejudices of European tourists. They come to America with a defensive mindset, ready to face negative news in the media. But what they received were people ready to extend a helping hand simply because they saw you were in need. When that Scottish boy stood at the airport security gate to fly back home, the heaviest thing he carried was not his backpack, but thousands of memories of kindness. That is the only souvenir that no airport baggage scale can measure. Stories that spread kindness and warmth like this are truly the reason why we want to connect with each other more. If these analyses resonate with you, please spread the word by clicking the like button, subscribing, and sharing this video with your loved ones. Spontaneous kindness and generosity of people have become the most profound marks, breaking down all cultural barriers. And this very real experience led European tourists to a final discovery, a bitter yet invaluable lesson about the nature of international communication. If you want to hate the US, listen to the media. If you want to love the US, just drive across it. This is the statement that has set social media ablaze in recent days. A brief statement that shatters all the prejudices built up over many years. Think about that statement for a moment. If you want to hate America, listen to the media. And if you want to love America, drive through it. Why did thousands of European tourists come to the same bitter conclusion after the World Cup? Because they realized they had fallen into a huge perceptual trap set by sensationalist headlines in the media over the decades. To be frank, what is the nature of international media? If it bleeds, it leads only things with crises, crime, and intense controversies make it to the news. When you sit in London, Paris, or Berlin and watch America on the TV screen, you will only see a country full of instability, chaos, and people constantly bickering with each other. But that's America through the lens of the camera. But the highway reality tells a completely different story. The media gives you a debate, but the highway gives you a real America. It is the wide, sprawling highways, the tidy suburbs, the peaceful lakeside towns, and the brightly lit convenience stores where people are simply enjoying buying dinner and living their lives well. European tourists continuously describe America as actually being much safer, cleaner, friendlier, and more beautiful than what they had been led to believe. The truth is, you cannot understand a vast and complex country like the United States just by sitting at a news desk abroad. Headlines give you a reason to argue, but the roads give you a true America. That's why videos of travelers hugging their luggage at the airport, thanking and apologizing to America, carry such emotional weight. That apology is not just a formality. That was a sincere confession. We were wrong to judge you based on rumors and the press. They came to America with a defensive mindset to protect themselves, but when they left, they became the ones standing up to defend America against prejudices back home. What do you think about this message? Do you believe in what the media portrays, or in the perspectives of those who have directly experienced the journeys? Leave a truly explosive comment below. The picture of the journey of European tourists in America has finally been completed with all the pieces. From the astonishment, the bitter withdrawal from comforts, to the warm embrace of human kindness and the profound lesson on media perspective. But every farewell needs a conclusion. Will the strange actions at the airport truly end when the plane takes off? Or will they open a new wave that changes the world's perception of America? America has never been a perfect country. It has its own issues, its own hidden corners. But the journey of thousands of European tourists after the 2026 World Cup has proven one thing. America still possesses a magical ability to melt even the most reserved hearts with its generosity, vastness, and deeply human kindness. They came to America to watch soccer, but when they returned, what they took back were the names of strangers, the flavors of BBQ parties and parking lots, and a completely new perspective on a country that had been deeply misunderstood. What about you? In the 6 reasons we just dissected today, from airport shock, the addiction to convenience, tailgating culture, the diversity of the 50 states, to the lesson on communication, which one impressed and surprised you the most? If you have the opportunity to set foot in the US, would you prefer to experience the explosive atmosphere in a parking lot or take the wheel for a road trip through the Arizona deserts? Please leave your comments in the section below. I am really looking forward to reading and discussing with everyone. If you find today's video brings fresh, interesting, and valuable perspectives, please support the team by lightly pressing the like button, subscribing to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the next in-depth analysis videos. This video is produced based on publicly available feedback materials, real reaction images, and cultural societal analyses for reference, entertainment, and educational purposes. The video does not aim to attack, belittle, or touch upon any individual, organization, country, or political institution. All images and short clips used in the video comply with YouTube's fair use policy for the purposes of commentary, analysis, and reporting. Thank you for staying with the channel for the past 25 minutes. Hello and see you in the next videos.